GameStop shares, they are down slightly this morning. The stock gaining more than 20% just on Monday after Keith Gill, also known as Roaring Kitty, posted a screenshot of GameStop holdings. The Wall Street Journal now reporting that E-Trade is considering barring Gill from its platform due to concerns about potential stock manipulation involving his recent GameStop option purchases. And the SEC may also be looking into the trading. Joining us right now is Jacob Frenkel. He is the chair of the Government Investigations and Securities Enforcement Division at Dickinson Wright, and he's formerly served as the SEC's Division of Enforcement. Good morning to you. Jacob, we've been talking for the past couple of days, and frankly now for the past couple of years, about what constitutes manipulation, stock manipulation, in the context of social media and maybe some of the things that Keith Gill, a.k.a. Roaring Kitty, has been doing. It doesn't seem like a natural case. What do you think?
It does not seem, Andrew, you're darn right. It does not seem like a natural case. And what we're really talking about here is the ability of one influencer, in the case of, in this instance, Mr. Gill, to influence the price of the stock. What the SEC looks at when it's talking about stock manipulation is somebody engaging in activity for the purpose of creating actual or apparent active trading for the purpose of driving the stock in one direction or the other, in other words, up or down, for the purpose of benefiting financially. In other words, the idea is that, the person's engaged in trades for the purpose of creating false or misleading appearance of active trading to create a market. But at the same time, when there's one person doing it, merely by virtue of his presence, we've seen people with personalities who have the ability to drive stocks, drive the market, captivate the market. Good examples are Martin Shkreli, Samuel Bankman-Fried. But at the same time, there is content here for SEC enforcement to look at. What's really interesting is we're hearing that the SEC is looking, but we're not hearing that it's the enforcement division necessarily. So it could also be divisions that involve the divisions of the commission that are involved in regulation.
Right.
But you're right. This
so
is
Jacob,
a unique
what would you be
phenomenon.
looking? What would you be looking at? And then there's a separate question, which is, do you think the rules are up to date, need to be updated, changed in this new environment? Or do you think that this is just an idiosyncratic aberration?
Andrew, let's take your second question first, because the challenge in a liquid market with our markets, I don't think you really can create regulation merely because of the activity of one person. It certainly invites scrutiny. I mean, clearly, Mr. Gill has tripped every wire at FINRA for market surveillance. But to create new regulations merely because someone's presence has the ability to drive the market, I think would have an adverse influence and really would not be productive. What I think the SEC, particularly for the enforcement division, is going to look at is there coordination with others? In other words, when he's trading, do other people know in advance what he's doing? Because there's a recent case that the SEC brought in California involving insider trading. That's a theory that the SEC could further try to extend. When it comes to manipulation, what is the purpose behind all of the activity? Clearly, he's benefiting financially. The real issue,
but Jacob,
from my perspective,
but if he's going on Reddit or another site and telling even a bunch of friends privately or quite publicly on a site like Reddit that he's doing these things, does that constitute manipulation?
Yeah, that's a great question, because if he is telling people in a public forum what he is doing, I don't know that it would constitute manipulation. On the other hand, if he's having private conversations, let's move the price of the stock to X, and he's going to benefit. Maybe there is no change in beneficial ownership. That's something that the SEC specifically looks at when it's talking about stock manipulation. In other words, there's a person using multiple accounts to drive the price of the stock. I mean, this is really a conundrum for the SEC because it's a unique phenomenon. It is contrary to all of the concepts with which we're familiar and always talking about, which are the application of corporate fundamentals, technical trading.
Right.
This is strictly momentum and social media.
Jacob, I am sure there are people watching us right now having this conversation saying, how are you even discussing this? This is happening every day on Wall Street. The big guys are on the phone with each other. They're on private message boards. They're messaging each other on their Bloomberg terminals, talking about the different trades that they're making. how is it that we're even having this conversation? This is the little guy actually trying to play with the big guy, or maybe even beat the big guy.
And that could end up being the reason why the SEC does not do something, not for that reason specifically, but you're right. There is a lot of activity. There's only so much that the SEC's Division of Enforcement can focus on. But what happens is when you have someone such as an influencer on social media who creates this type of unique phenomenon, and more importantly, let's look at what happened 3 or 4 years ago in GameStop, where you had the tremendous rise in the price. People try to jump into that momentum. They don't have the market sophistication, and then they lose. And to whom do they look to be bailed out? If they go to the SEC for help, they go to FINRA for help, they go to plaintiffs' lawyers for help, and it's not there. So, yes, it is a difficult phenomenon, but one that you cannot regulate away.
Okay, so Jacob, final question for you because we got to run. Morgan Stanley, which owns E-Trade, thinking about, do we want Roaring Kitty, or do they want Roaring Kitty in this case, on their platform as a client, as a customer? If you were their lawyer, and they're probably thinking about either their own liability or reputational issues. And by the way, the reputational issues could cut both ways, because I think a lot of retailers, especially in the E-Trade world, are, they're fans of Roaring Kitty. What would you be advising them?
Look hard at your contract. Look at what is the agreement with this and every other client, and is the person playing by the rules? If the person is following the rules that are set in the contract, the customer agreement, then I think you leave him on the platform. But I don't think you merely kick him off because he has created a presence for himself. On the other hand, if there's the slightest inkling of a violation, then you absolutely cut the person from the platform, regardless of the risk, because the downside reputational risk is much too great.